Rob Nelson, talk show host.
Because you got the 70s thing going there. I got someone's underwear.
Robert Kennedy, thanks for taking a minute. Simple question.
Tucker?
It's good to see you. Listen,
You're a Bitcoin maximalist. You're Bitcoin forever.
I hate this central bank digital currency.
Hey, I don't have all the answers, but together, I know we can find them.
Down in competition in the ratings tab for late night weekend viewers.
All right, hey everybody, welcome. It's a little bit late. I'm on a short show. Got into town a little late, but wanted to jump in and do a quick Rob Nelson live. I mean, things are moving so fast right now, can't even keep up. Actually, interesting. Before I get into Iran, which is what I really want to talk about, and what's actually happening, big picture across the world. This is a big picture version. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang said that the AI boom, is literally just at the tip, at the beginning. And we know this. It's going to be everywhere, right? I mean, that's not a shocking statement. What's interesting is that he thinks it's strange to think that China will use American technology to advance the AI industry. It's because he thinks AI is about energy. It's about, a chip industry that we're a part of. It's, the models, the applications, he calls it a fiber layer cake. And every layer has an industry, and those are all industries that need to and will compete to secure AI leadership in the U.S. He actually thinks blocking the U.S. out of China was a mistake, but also expects that, many jobs, as we all know, none of this is rocket science, will be eliminated and others will be created. But what struck me interesting is he thinks AI will be, quote, super intelligent in narrow spaces. And it's going to change every single month. That's where my takeaway was. Super intelligent in narrow spaces will change every month. And that he thinks this year will be a big, big breakthrough for AGI, for artificial general intelligence. And he thinks it's a great time. All right, why is that significant? Well, super intelligent in narrow spaces and changing every month. I think it's going to be super intelligent in narrow spaces, and then those narrow spaces are going to get wider and wider and wider. But his point is, for now, focus on where you think it's going to be going. And I've heard other people say this. Look at where you think AI is going right now and focus there, because that's where you're going to see job displacement. That's where you're going to see changes happening. Big picture, we don't know for sure, but every month it's going to change. What that really tells me is we're entering a period of rapid change, a lot of volatility in technology, and that segues to me a lot of volatility in life, in the world we live in. And you couldn't get a better president for volatility than Donald Trump. I'm calling the volatility president. Here we are, 3 days into a war in the Middle East. Well, where do I start? I'm not going to do an MGT thing here. I'm not MTG thing. I'm not going to go Marjorie Taylor Greene. I am going to acknowledge she's not wrong. I'm not a MAGA person, but she's not wrong. This isn't what Trump said he was going to do. She's like, this isn't what I voted for. This isn't what I campaigned for. What we campaigned for, Mr. President, you and I together. This isn't what we did. This wasn't what we were fighting for. She's not wrong. She is totally not wrong. This is not what Trump said he was going to do. No more wars. No more foreign wars. No more endless wars. No more wars, period. No more focusing outside of the U.S. America first. America first. It's not what he did. It's gotten us involved in more things, short term, mostly. Venezuela was the last one. It's like every month there's a new military action. Here's my thing. I think people misread Trump. I don't think Trump ever really wanted to focus on America first in that way. I think he wants America first in the sense that America is the most powerful country in the world, and he's going to ensure that it represents that way. And he wants to be the most famous president in the world. And he wants Teddy Roosevelt-like spirit. Not that Teddy Roosevelt wanted to be the most famous, But he wants to be known as the guy who went out and reshaped the world and fought for America. Do I think Trump cares about America? Yes. In a true sense of like America as a nation, he wants us to be number one. Do I think he wants us to be number one, like in technology? Yes. In wealth, in power, in military power? Yes. He also wants to be the president who reordered the world. He's creating the first really post-Cold War era shift. I mean, we had the Cold War after World War II. We had the technology of the late second half of the 1950s to the early 2000s. He is the first world leader ushering in a new era around all of that. It is a new global order. It is a new economic order. It's a new technological order. And President Donald Trump is ushering that in an absolutely chaotic way, which appears consistent with the chaos of what is actually evolving. I don't think his goal is to affordability. That's their new line they're using real quick because they got to get it in fast before the midterms. This fall. His focus is on restructuring the world order, and he wants to be the president who did it, and he's doing it. I mean, we are at war in the Middle East. Now, I said 15 to 20 years ago. I mean, I was doing a radio show in LA almost 20 years ago. And when I first said, if we don't deal with two problems, they're going to come back to bite us in the ass. One was immigration. I was in California. I was at a big radio station, in Southern California, the second biggest radio station in the country. And I was like, I saw the effects in California even then. I was like, if you don't stop unchecked immigration, it was even then, it was immigration. I mean, it wasn't like Biden era. It wasn't like thousands of people every day just flooding over the border. But it's pretty apparent, the cost, the impact. This is almost 20 years ago. I'm like, if we don't deal with immigration, it is going to come back, and we will have a boomerang where people will react and be like, now it's too much. Now there's too many people. Now it's taking too much resources. Now it's taking literally away from our resources, when it was then too, but it's taking away from the resources that people in American communities want and need and think they should get. And you will have too much crime, and you'll have too much resistance. I even said you will have illegal immigrants who are here who will say no more illegal immigrants, which is exactly what happened. Like, no, cut, stop it. No, I came and got a job, and now they're going to come get my job. And he said it'll be a bad boomerang, and it was. Trump sealed the border, and then he went too far. As I've said before on the show, he went too far. He went from that to, I'm going to, create I'm going to take, ICE, and I'm going to just deport the worst of the worst. Good. Get rid of the criminals. Absolutely. Two, we're going to put masks on people. They're going to go into communities, and they're going to pull kids out of schools and off buses. And I don't think they've literally pulled anyone off a bus, but go into people's jobs, take the parents, take community members. We're no longer just talking about grabbing the bad guys, the people who really are just scum. And if you're a criminal and you're here, I mean, criminals in general, but if you're a criminal and you're here illegally, I mean, yes, technically being here illegally is a crime. It's a civil crime. I keep trying to point that out. It's a civil crime. I mean, it's a weird definition, but it's not a crime like robbing somebody. But if you're here illegally, technically you shouldn't be, fair enough. But that's, again, millions of people here illegally who've been here illegally for a long time. Their kids are in schools. Their kids have graduated. Their kids aren't doctors and lawyers and whatever. You can't go after these people. It's just insane. It's wrong. It's immoral. And it's not even necessary. But Trump has a big appetite. He goes big. It's like big or go home. So now he's going to we're going to get everybody. We won't care. We're going to get all the millions of people who are here illegally because you all go back. That is not what people elected him for. Same with the military stuff, right? And I said 15, 20 years ago on my show, the second problem was Iran. Remember, Iran's been trying to build a nuclear weapon for decades. And I'm old enough to have been, well, actually, I was in college when the Iranians, when the Ayatollah Khomeini, the first one, not the guy they just killed, not Khomeini was and took power in 79. I was in school a couple years after that, and I actually met one of the senior embassy people who was held hostage when I was in college. I was he'd been invited to speak at our college, and it was a Friday night, and I went to the speech. It's funny because it was actually the night of initiation for we had like dorms, like houses. They were like frat sororities, but it was a private school, so they weren't literally they weren't part of like national chapters of fraternities or sororities. They were our own version, but they'd been around for 100 years with charters and flags and the whole thing. And it was the initiation for my house. And instead of going to my house's initiation, because I thought the whole thing was a joke, and I thought it was actually kind of offensive that, you're going to take the freshmen and humiliate them to be part of the group. So I went to this thing instead with the with like deputy ambassador or whatever from the embassy in Iran, who'd been a prisoner a hostage for 400 days, 439, whatever it was. And I don't know how long they kept him. They took that embassy over. It was over a year. I mean, that's what launched Nightline. It started out Ted Koppel just doing reports on the status of the hostages, and then it became day 1, day 2, day 3, and pretty soon it was like day 365, and then that just became Nightline, like the show Nightline. Which again, a lot of you may not remember, but it was the go-to nighttime news show for almost a decade, and everyone in Washington watched it. All the power players watched it. It was being watched at the White House. It was being watched on Capitol Hill. It was the most influential news show, I would argue, more influential even than 60 Minutes for quite a long time. But it started in 79, just Ted Koppel covering every day of the coverage. And it's funny, sidebar, I was on Nightline, a total issue dedicated to me and the organization and John Count, who I was doing it with, called Lead or Leave. It was us against the third issue that I've always talked about is dealing with entitlement reform, which I'm going to get to before the end of this. And so I'll come back to it, but it was a show dealing with entitlement reform. So we're going to come right back to that in a second and wrap up on that. So I'm going to take issue 2 was Iran. I know there's a lot of sidebars to get here. And I was like, if we don't deal with Iran, Iran is going to get a nuclear weapon. This was true 20 years ago. They are on a mission to get it. They will eventually get one. And I said at the time, there are 2 options here. One, figure out how to negotiate with them. Give it a shot. Sanction the F out of them. Like, do whatever is necessary to stifle and prevent them from building it. And if you can't, then we will have to, and I said at the time, this is 20 years ago almost, we will have to take out their capability. And if we don't, Israel will. Because the minute it becomes apparent to Israel that Iran not wants to, but can actually achieve a nuclear weapon, forget about long-range ballistic missiles. They don't need long-range ballistic missiles to hit Israel. They need medium-range missiles. The minute Israel's clear that Iran can and is close to building a nuclear weapon or the potential to do that, they will launch on their own. This is 15, 17 years ago. This was true. It's just been a matter of time. And now Iran got close enough. And Iran was on the verge. And what did we do? We went in with Israel and took out nuclear facilities. Now, clearly, we didn't obliterate them. According to Trump, we did. We didn't, because that's what we're worried about now. It's also not true that they're a week away. I think it was Steve Witkoff or whoever said they're a week away from having. They're not a week away. If we obliterated them, they can't be a week away. But obviously, the point was they're close enough and they're not stopping. And I believe our operation, Epic Fury, was built on the back, and I think it's becoming clear, of Operation Roaring Lion. Israel was going to do this. And I have a feeling they said, we're doing this. You coming with us or not? Like, we're going. We're not asking permission. We're going. We're going after, the Ayatollah. We're going after the leadership. We're going after key, ballistic missile sites and launchers. You want to join us or not? We're like, okay, we're in. Because Trump wants the same thing. But again, Trump wants America to be world dominant more than he wants the American people to all be, living their best lives. Sure, he wants future generations to. I'll give him credit. I'm going to come back to what I was trying to do with my Gen X organization for future generations. But the mega people, the diehards, are holding on, saying this is all part of a master plan. But at a certain point, a lot of mega people are going, not part of the master plan I voted for, man. The master plan was seal the borders and make things better here at home. How many more wars you got lined up for you? How many more peacekeeping operations you taking on? How many more countries you're going to threaten to do whatever? This is going to be the biggest backfire in the midterms you've ever seen. And I'm going to go on record right now. I think Democrats win the House and the Senate. The majorities right now are, so the margins are tiny. You got a couple votes here and there to play with. You don't need to flip many seats. And when they do, and I've said it before, the first thing they will do is eliminate the filibuster so that they can pass whatever they want. Trump will veto everything. So it's a sort of 6 1/2 dozen of the other. But they will eliminate filibuster, the requirement to get 60 votes. And then they will impeach President Trump. And they will succeed at impeaching him, and they will succeed at convicting him. And they get so many things they'll impeach him for. Someone said to me the other day, what do they impeach him for? I don't know. You make you a laundry list. I mean, they're going to start with the ICE operations. They're going to impeach him over this. They're going to say this is like, this is extending beyond his constitutional war powers. They'll impeach him over Venezuela. They'll impeach him over bombing the boats out of the drug boats. They'll find one of 20 reasons to impeach him for, high crimes and misdemeanors, the constitutional definition, and they will impeach him and they will convict him. I think that'll happen. Now, final thoughts here. Because I promised a short show. I like short and impactful, short and fast. That is not what she said. Maybe it is. Maybe that is what some people say. With that line, everyone's like, that's what she said. You ever notice half the time when people say it, it's not what she would have said, it's what he would have said. Now 1993, basically, again, 30 years ago, I launched the Leader Leave, the Gen X political movement, right? And put the moniker Generation X into life. I didn't create the moniker. Doug Copeland wrote the book, Generation X, but me and a handful of people kind of activated that moniker on the national press because there wasn't social media. And the way you got a message out was over a legacy media, print, television, cable news emerged. It was CNN. And then something going viral was done by creating pockets and pockets and popping that up and getting that exposure across media markets everywhere, which is what we did. And we did that with Leader Leave, our advocacy group. We did it with the name Generation X, which is why the New York Times said I'm the original spokesperson of Generation X. Well, right, because I didn't create the name. I just pushed it out there so hard on so many platforms that it stuck. Me and a handful of other people, but small number of us. It was like 6 or 7 or 10. Leader Leave was built on the premise that we were creating an insustainable burden for future generations, starting with our generation, Generation X. I'm older now. So to you millennials and Gen Zers, it'll be like, what? But remember, I was a late 20-something in the 90s, and I was watching my generation be the first generation to be latchkey kids, to have, grow up with primarily divorced parents, to have a standard of living that would be below our parents, to not be able to own homes easily, to not have secure, again, every generation before it had economic security and a degree of emotional and relationship stability. We would be the first that would not. We became the generation that would distrust the institutions first. We would distrust what the leaders were telling us. We would distrust what the media was telling us. We wouldn't look at one party or the other party as a sacred truth. We'd look at them all as questionable. Like, you guys are more about yourselves than you are about us. We distrusted almost all institutional frameworks. That's where grunge came from. That's where the 90s music came from. That's where the pushback of the 90s politics. It's why the 90s were such an amazing era to live in as a 20-something. It was a brilliant time to be alive. I mean, it sucks now if you're 20-something. Everything's so controlled and orchestrated, and people are on their devices, not talking to one another. It's like this at a date. No, we had fun. But we were scared about a future. I was a scared 20-something, scared in the sense of like, we're getting fucked by the system. and it's going to end badly for us. And I fought against it. And one of the primary things I fought against was what was happening with the deficit, because it was an example of mortgaging one generation's future on a massive credit card. Like, we'll just spend more and more and more every year, and the debt will get bigger. And who's going to pay for it? Well, you guys will. When you get older, you Generation X, you'll pay for it. Well, we did the same thing. So now millennials could pay for it. Same thing's going to be passed on. So now Gen Z can pay for it. And it's just gotten worse and worse. It's become unsustainable. The debt is unsustainable. And Social Security is going to be dead. And I, again, 25 years ago said, 30 years at this point with Leader Leave, said, we will hit an impact. I thought it would be about 30 years. I was a little off, where Social Security will, I will never get it. The people 10 years younger than me will never get it. The millennials will never get it. The Gen Z, they forget about it. Like, and I was like, I'm paying into a system I will never get a dollar for. And, people were like, oh, especially Democrats, but Republicans too, people were like, oh, that's not true. Like especially Democrats, but it's complicated. Again, it wasn't really a partisan issue. It just became one. Bill Clinton did a trial balloon with Social Security reform, and it got shot down. And David Gergen, who's died this year, but he was a long-time White House. He was an advisor to everyone from Nixon to Clinton, both sides of the aisle. Said, we tried this out. It was on 60 Minutes. He's like, I was on 60 Minutes, believe it or not, a profile about what we were doing. And David Gergen, I went to the White House, and David Gergen said to me on camera, we tried this and it didn't work, basically, because either side shot up reform, the other side shot it down. Democrats proposed it. Republicans proposed it. Democrats go, shh, you're going after old people. You're going after the seniors. And they're the most reliable voters in the world. Until the wave of illegal immigration, which was to create the newest, most reliable wave of voters, senior citizens, they vote. And so we were like, this will be our undoing. Well, now we know it is probably. Marjorie Taylor Greene said it, in a lengthy X post the other day, saying what America First was supposed to be. It's about a decade before Social Security just goes full belly up. Medicare is close behind. We don't have the ability to sustain these programs because it was always a Ponzi scheme. Workers pay in, retirees take out. Well, that works as long as you have more workers than retirees and people die relatively young. Now people are living longer, and there's more people retiring than entering the workforce. So now, when Roosevelt started Social Security, 35 workers to every one retiree. Now it's almost 1 to 1. It was 2 to 1 about a decade ago. It's almost close to 1 to 1. Almost one worker for every retiree. So everybody out here working is paying for one person to retire. Okay, how long is that going to last? The thing's all upside down. And that's what America First was supposed to fix. Now, maybe it's too late for that. I never was sure what exactly America First was going to do or not do, or if it even made sense. I guarantee you this, Trump's America First is about America being the most powerful nation in the world, which, by the way, should be restoring our manufacturing base, should be addressing fundamental economic issues at home, and should be dealing with these future existential crises. Like, how are we going to deal with Medicare and Social Security, these massive entitlement programs, which are 30% of the budget, the debt, which is 30% of the budget. How are we going to deal with this? Over half the 60% of the budget going upside down in the next decade and not being able to sustain it as an economic power. That's what we should be thinking about here, because those things are happening. On top of it, we have a massive technological revolution that's happening, which is going to create so much economic instability. And I do believe that, how do I put it? I mean, although I think he's probably a genius in his own way, and like all social, like all tech CEOs, probably Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, probably is right in his own way, but I think we are facing an existential battle with AI, and we don't know what it's going to look like. I think he's wrong to say, oh, he's probably right. Small sector, individual sectors, super intelligent, changes month to month. But the massive wide-scale impact of AI is going to be the biggest technological disruption we have seen in it's that stupid line since the automobile. It is. I mean, people said, Web 1 was the biggest disruption, the rise of the internet since the automobile. This is going to be a disruptor on top of that disruption like you've never seen. This will make the launch of the internet into mainstream, the late 90s. This will make the 2004 or 5, Web 2 social media revolution seem like nothing. This will turn all bets are off. It's a complicated time in a crazy world. I'm just going to leave it at this. The one thing that will survive is what makes us human. And it's existentially massive. And it's threatening people's psyches as humans. That's why you're seeing more suicides. It's why you're seeing more people kind of losing it. You're going to see more people going crazy, throwing everything to the wind, being like, who cares? I'm just going for it. It's going to sound dumb, What's the line, in Anchorman, stay classy, San Diego. Stay human, everybody. Stay human. Thanks for watching. It's Rob Nelson Live. See you next week or Wednesday. Depends. Who knows?
Meet Rob Nelson, talk show host.
Because you got the 70s thing going there. I got someone's underwear.
Robert Kennedy, thanks for taking a minute. Simple question.
Tucker?
It's good to see you. Listen,
If you're a Bitcoin maximalist, you're Bitcoin forever.
I hate this central bank digital currency.
Hey, I don't have